But here is what I think, this is what I've distilled as the way that works for me of informing myself with music and giving myself more power musically and a bigger palette and a bigger imagination, more specific knowledge. And here's what I started to do. And I started to do this right after I started doing jingle stuff. I thought, you know, they keep asking me to do all this different stuff. I need to learn this. I need to have answers when these people come to me. So what I did was I began to collect music that I liked, that impressed me somehow. And it would be everything. Part of the Stravinsky stuff, rock and roll, pop stuff, any kind, jazz things, especially jazz chords in those days when, you know, we were still trying to figure out those voice leading things about the flat nines and the sharp fives and the, you know what I mean? We knew about them and we knew about upper structure goodies, but how does that work exactly? And people aren't asking you for that, right? They're asking you for much more mainstream things, but you know, you're trying to learn, you know, you're trying to add quality and learn how much of this can I do. But in any case, what I did then was I started the process, and the process becomes this: pick two pieces, all right? Now you have to get this started, okay? So one of them already has to be listened to without trying to analyze it. Put it on, put on the music in the background and just play it, okay? Pay no attention to it whatsoever. Do whatever you want, okay? Just let it play, all right? After you've done that for a while, decide you're going to analyze what thrilled you about this. Boom, here we go. Then, and I mean this part, write it down, okay? Take the piece that thrills you and listen to it and write it down, okay? All of the parts. If you can hear that that's a flute, put a flute. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just put the note down, okay? If you can hear this voicing or that one or whatever, write down as much of it as you can, okay? For the part that blows you away. Until, well, do it all, and then identify why that blew you away. Why was that good? It was good, for instance, that piece, the rockabilly piece where we went to the rock and roll part. It's a combination of like Dr. Tooth, you know, from the Muppets, and the Guys All-Star Shoe Band, you know, Garrison Keillor, Prairie Home. It's a combination. It's that sort of thing. But why did I pick that baritone thing? The boo-do-do-do-do. Why did I do that? Because I like that. I heard that one time and said, why is that? Why do I like that? And so I analyze it. Oh, I see. It's a baritone saxophone doing this, and then these other guys do this. Well, that gets filed away because I wrote it down. I wrote it down. Now, you can take that piece of paper and throw it away. That doesn't matter. You wrote it down. It goes into your memory when you write it down. So now I've acquired, I've listened to it already, okay, without trying. And so that music is in me, okay, whether I want it to be there or not. It's in there. What is it? I have figured out what it is that I wanted to know about this music, okay? I have written it down and I've acquired that. Well, that gets to sit in there, okay? And that little piece, well, what's the next piece? In the meantime, this other piece, when you're not listening to this one, has been playing in the background, okay? And so you simply do that all the time, all right? That's part of it. The other part is this. Learn to listen so well. I can't tell you, learning to listen is the single most important thing that anybody involved in the music business can do, is identify what you are hearing, the ability to hear through things and say, what is this that I'm listening to? What is this? I began to teach myself to hear by forcing myself to analyze songs on the radio as they play in real time, like Guitar Hero, only it's Analysis Hero. And you start with the simplest things, and I highly recommend this as an exercise. This isn't where you stop and write everything down. This is where you shout out numbers, okay? That's a 1. No, that was a 5 minor. Oh, dear God, a 5 minor. Back up to the 1/7. That's a 4. 4 major 7, 6, 6, minor with the 7, flat 7 with the finer, you know what I'm saying? And do that as the song is played. Forget it, go to the next one. Do that until it becomes second nature for your analysis part to kick in, and you no longer have to think about it. It simply is there. There's a shape of melody that is more thrilling than others. It has to do with when does it go up, and when does it come back down and go back up again, and where does it land. And the shape of that is it's slightly different for different people, but there are common things. All of the opera stuff is just so. I'm a big time opera fan, and I love the East Village Opera Company. Do you know them? The rock and roll guys, they call themselves an 18th century cover band. You got to go. They got 2 trained opera singers that can sing rock and roll, blast your face off. And everybody in the damn thing is incredible. I'm not kidding. It's New York's finest. And East Village Opera Company, got to check them out. I also recommend studying the physics of sound. Okay, the actual physics of it, because that's never going to change. Synthesizers haven't changed the physics of sound, okay? They approach them in different ways, but they're the same physics. So you need to know at least the overtone series. You need to know about the frequency response, basic engineering. You really do need to know basic engineering. I have to know a lot. I engineered all that stuff too, so I've had to learn that as well. Several things. My career has opened on, when I first started doing work, I wrote it on score paper. We all started, when we came out, there wasn't anything else to do. You wrote all the parts out, and a copyist, people will so laugh at this, a copyist came. Yes, a copyist, and took away the score and wrote all the little parts out in this beautiful, Dark Ages calligraphic, and people came in, then we put the parts out. All the studio guys came in, everybody, this is what it means. This is how I want you to play music. That was another thing, too, I want to talk about, is was something that a lot of people in this day and age don't get nearly enough of, and that is it's a different thing to make music with people. And that's a different talent, although you need to know how to do that. And I started doing that. I mean, that's all I've ever wanted to do, was to make music with people. These audio things I played for you, as sophisticated as they sound, I would much rather have hired all of those people. But what would that have cost me? Thousands and thousands of dollars that I have no way of knowing if I can recoup a cost like that. And so the album would have cost, what, $50,000? And sure, I mean, that's an old days thing, where people just had, lots of people had $50,000, $100,000 to do an album. And of course, the whole distribution system has changed, as you well know, and the reason we're doing this. But back to engineering and the basics of sound.